How is it going, everybody? Happy Sunday or Monday. I'm gonna release this video on Monday. It is currently 11:23 p.m. on Sunday, December 28th. I've tried to film this multiple times and failed, but hopefully this will work this time. Hopefully this will work this time. But it's been a great day. It was 70 degrees out at one point. The Browns beat the Steelers, which is why I'm all brownsed up right now. The Blue Jackets beat the Islanders, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I have talked about Five Nights at Freddy's in the past. That down a bit, sorry. Yeah, it looks fun. Um, this is gonna be a terrible video, but I don't care. I really don't give a shit, dude. Alright, so. God dang, I'm a fucking headset. Alright, whatever. Get down here. We're good. Alright, what a great start. So, in this video, I'm gonna talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. I have in the past. I've talked about not long after the second movie came out. I think that night after I saw the second movie, which was like the first Sunday after it came out back in earlier, like a few weeks ago in the first weekend of December, the first Sunday after it came out, I saw the second movie and I quickly made a video talking about it. And yes, I'm drinking. Go Reds, by the way. But that video was kind of thrown together randomly. That was just me chucking this stuff out of my brain out there because I wanted to talk about the movie, but I didn't know how to talk about it yet. This is more organized. This is more, I've put my thoughts together. I've seen theories online. I've learned more about what the production timeline could be for the third movie, if we do get it, and as well as what my theories are, what some predictions I've seen, what the ones I believe are true, what stuff could be like for the third movie. So, in another late night session, I've put some more of those things together. I'm going to talk about more of my opinions on what the third movie for the series could potentially be. Now, a couple things to address right away. Number one, Scott Cawthon, when the movie starts to begin production, he said that there was only going to be 3 films. Now, knowing how successful the Five Nights at Freddy's movies have been, we could absolutely see more. When Scott first made the video game, it was only supposed to be a one-time thing. And that spawned 11 games, 20-something odd books, and now 2 movies. And thousands of YouTube videos of fan theories talking about what's going to happen next. So we could absolutely see more. But again, we have to stick to what the original plan was here. Scott only planned for there to be 3 movies. So with that in mind, there's a lot of lore they can need to put in this third movie, and there's a lot of different ways they can go about having this movie make sense. Of course, one of my friends is texting me. So, number 2, Matthew Lillard at New York Comic Con earlier in the year, I think a couple months ago, during the hype of the second movie, said Matthew Lillard's the guy who plays Springtrap, William Afton, the main antagonist of this franchise, really. He basically said at that Comic Con that it was up to us to get the third film. Saying that if the movie was a hit, or really when it was going to be a hit, they were going to get the third film. And basically saying that the third film was basically going to follow the third game. The third film was going to follow the third game, Fazbear Fright, Springtrap. We kind of saw that in the post-credit teaser for the movie. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet. Although it's been a month, you should have seen it already. So with that in mind, it does sound like we're going to get the third movie, especially knowing when I saw the box office take a couple days ago. Now, again, this a couple days ago. It could be more by now, but when I last saw the box office, it was over $200 million for a movie with about a 36 to $50 million budget, which is what I remember seeing it as. So this movie's already made 300% of its budget up in not even a month of being out. So with that in mind, it's one of the highest successful movies of the year, and I think it's done more than well enough for us to get the third movie. So with that in mind, we're most likely going to get the third. When we get it, though, is another thing up about speculation. Some people are thinking that it could come out about sometime in 2027, maybe 2028 if they take longer to develop it. However, there is a rumor that there is an untitled Blumhouse Universal production scheduled to come out sometime next year. Five Nights at Freddy's was a movie made under Universal Studios and Blumhouse Productions. So we could absolutely see this movie come out next year. That being if they've already filmed it, filmed a good chunk of it, or at least they've already written it. If they've already written it and they're filming soon, we could absolutely see the movie come out in 2026. We don't know that yet. Again, this is a speculation, something I saw back in September. Older theory, this could be different. That Blumhouse could have already announced what the film was. We don't know yet, but in my opinion, I think 2027. I'm hoping mid 2027, summer of 2027 is what I'm crossing my fingers of it to be. Because seeing how much hype this movie has not long after coming out, I think they need to make it earlier. Need to make it sooner rather than later, so they can capitalize off how much success and how much speculation, how much theories about the third movie have been out right now. All right, enough lead up. Enough talking about when we could get the third movie. Let's talk about my official predictions as of now. And again, like more and more theories are going to come out, more teasers, more information. Sorry, about what this third movie is going to be like. So, at least from what I've seen now, what I've seen the fan theories to be right now, here are my official predictions for the third Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I'm going to start off with the characters we could see, then we're going to move on to potential storylines, and then we're going to move on to how I want the movie to end. And again, I'm not a screenwriter. I am not a movie writer at all. I do not. What I just say is what I want as a fan. It may not be what we get. Moving on with the characters. Here are the guarantees for the third movie, in my opinion. The guaranteed. Now, the guys I mentioned later could be more. Let me say this. I have my guaranteeds, I have my most likelies, and then I have my bolds. The guaranteeds are the for sure we're going to get these people. The likelies are there's no guarantee we're going to get them, but there's a really good chance. And then my bolds are they might just be put in there because it's the third movie, most likely the last. They got to wrap it up, get as much lore in there as possible. We could see these guys in there if they don't plan on making a fourth movie or more. My guarantees. My guarantees are pretty obvious. I think anybody who's basically seen any base level of the movie at any base level of fandom know who they're going to be. So, Mike Schmidt. Sorry. Mike Schmidt, Abby Schmidt, the two protagonists, the main protagonists of the next movie. Vanessa possessed by Charlotte. What Vanessa will be, we'll talk about later. William Afton as the main antagonist, as Springtrap, which I'm really looking forward to because it's not going to be William Afton and Springtrap in the human form. It's just a human inside of an animatronic suit. It's going to be the full blown supernatural human possessing of a suit, William Afton, and that's going to be great to see on the big screen as much as it was in the game. Yeah, William Afton. Yeah, the two Schmidts, Mike and Abby, Vanessa, William Afton. I guess Charlotte. Should we say Charlotte? I guess Vanessa and Charlotte are kind of the same thing right now, because Charlotte, aka the marionette, is possessing Vanessa. Um, Henry. I think Henry's got to be in the third movie. I think he's got to be a guarantee. He could be more of a most likely, but I think it's got to be a guarantee. In my opinion, knowing how the sixth game ends and how it really ended, in my opinion, the main story arc, I think if they do end the movie and the franchise after the third movie, it would be wrong if we didn't have Henry in his amazing, amazing speech. Um, Henry's a guarantee. Mike's friend, Jeremiah Jerome, whatever his name was, I can't remember his name. Start with a J. I know he'll be in the third movie. The taxi cab driver, I think, will get one more scene in the third movie. And then, hmm. This one you could also consider more of a most likely, going into the most likely category, but I guess the Phantom animatronics. The Phantom animatronics were in the third game. It makes sense for them to be in this movie, in my opinion. So we'll see. But yeah, those are my guarantees. I could go back and add more later, but next category is going to be my most likely. So I've already said to most likely is Henry, the Phantom animatronics. They're kind of in both categories, really. Circus Baby. The reason I put Baby into the most likely category is because sorry, my screen's going dark. There we go. Um, if they do want to give Baby her own movie, then she won't be. But if they want to wrap up this movie series after the third film, we'll see Baby in some form or fashion. What the story about Baby is, though, we will talk about later. We'll see Baby. I already said the Phantoms. I already said Henry. Oh, yeah, Michael Afton's gonna be the next movie. Sorry, Michael Afton's a guarantee. I completely forgot about Michael Afton. He's a guarantee. And then I guess those are my most likely maybes. I feel like we basically know who's gonna be in the next movie, which is why I don't have many likelies. Here are my bolds. Now, yet again, some of these depend on whether or not we stick with 3 films or if we go longer. My bolds: the Nightmare animatronics. Nightmare Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. I guess Fredbear. Maybe not Fredbear, though. I feel like Fredbear hasn't really been introduced yet, really. But yeah, the nightmares for the most part. We could see a dream sequence in which one of the characters is having nightmares about the original characters, and therefore they become those demonic creatures we saw in the fourth game. I'm playing the fourth game, by the way. I'll link my Twitch in the description. I'm playing the game right now, and I will go live, so please tune in. I just beat the 6th night. I'm going to try to be aggressive in 2020 mode on the PlayStation. I know PlayStation is basically impossible, but it's the console I got. But yeah, the nightmares I could see in the next movie. I could see the Funtime animatronics in this next movie. The Funtime animatronics are more of a bold one. Yet again, it once again depends on whether or not the Circus Baby's Pizzeria part of the storyline will get its own movie, or if we're going to see more about it in the third movie. I do have a bold prediction about that, though, which I'll talk about here once I get to my bold predictions, which will be just in a sec. Um, who else can we see? Maybe some of the guys from Security Breach, some of the other games like Help Wanted. Vanny, that's a big one. Vanny, and she once again ties into another theory I have. This is again another bolder theory, another theory that I don't even know is true or not. A theory that I'm questioning about, depending on what I'm seeing. That's depending on what I've seen online. Yeah, those are my character predictions. Watch it back. I know this is really unorganized. This is just me putting thoughts together. Again, I've had a lot to say about these movies. I'm just trying to get it out there so people can watch. And again, I'm not the most diehard fan of the world. I know the lore, the base level of the lore. There's so many videos about lore and theories that I really don't know at this point. But those are my character predictions. Now let's get into my movie predictions. I'll start off with the not so bold ones, the givens really. Based on what we saw in the second movie, what are we for sure going to see in the third? The most likely is in the third, and then the bulls for what we could see in the third movie. So, starting off with the guaranteed, once again, post-credit scene, Fazbear Fright. We're going to get Fazbear Fright. We're going to get Springtrap as the main antagonist. Based on what we saw in the post-credit scene with the guys going in and salvaging what they could out of the pizzeria before it got demolished. Because of that, them finding Springtrap at the back room he was in, putting Springtrap into the horror attraction. We're going to see the horror attraction. We're going to see all those characters, in my opinion, and all that stuff. That's a guarantee. Puppet possessing Vanessa. I guess I'm going to have my own thing about Vanessa, though. Because I feel like the future of Vanessa and what we could see out of Vanessa is is probably drawing the most speculation online. What's my guarantees? God, I really don't have much. And that's one thing I guess I've seen people critiquing it online about is that we don't have much guarantees about what we could see in the third movie. We have the base level, who the characters are going to be guaranteed as, where the movie's going to take place at, who the main antagonist is going to be. I guess the mission, really. But we really don't have much guarantee. That's been the biggest critique, but I also feel like that's a good thing. Because with there not being as much guarantees right now, means that they have a whole lot more storyline to play with when they make this next movie. If they haven't already. I've heard some rumors that production may have already started, or it's going to start before the year ends. In So today's the 28th, about to be the 29th, so 29th, 30, and 31st. There's 3 days. So if they start production over the next 3 days, maybe. I don't know. But I just completely lost my thought. But yeah, oh yeah, I remember now. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of guarantees and a whole lot of bold predictions. Some not so bold, some more bold. Again, I'll talk about it. Here's my. I guess we'll just go straight into the bold categories because I feel like the likelies are going to be in the bold. But Circus Baby is a bold one. You're having a storyline. The Nightmare animatronics. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if there was a night. Even if we only got the Nightmare animatronics for a little bit, there's got to be at least one dream sequence where we see the Nightmare animatronics. Whether it's Mike Schmidt, Michael Afton, Abby, one of the characters having a nightmare, and they see the animatronics. I feel like that's got to be a storyline. In a way, we'll see the Nightmare animatronics because I think a big thing going from the first movie to the second was getting more animatronics. If that's the case for the second going to the third, we're gonna get a bunch, especially if we end the movie series after 3 movies. But so yeah, there's that. Look at the Phantoms. Maybe the Fun Time animatronics again. That's gonna tie into a theory I talked about in a minute. Fun Time animatronics. Maybe Golden Freddy. We haven't seen much from Golden Freddy. And I feel like Golden Freddy plays such a big role in the games. Yeah, more out of the puppet. I know in the sixth game we saw the puppet in the shape of Lefty. The one like black bear. And like the all black bear. Because the puppet was in Lefty in the sixth game. I don't think we'll get Lefty though. I feel like Lefty kind of. It just doesn't make sense to me to have Lefty. To have the puppet in that suit. Because I feel like the puppet's best when it's not. But yeah, wow, this segment's really short. And again, that's the biggest criticism of the movie is that it left so many questions unanswered. Because again, felt this felt like a setup movie. This felt like a movie that they were getting us ready for the third. Even if the third hadn't already been confirmed yet. This movie was made to get us ready for the third and to set up the storylines for the third, which we're absolutely going to get. Now, here are my bold predictions. I guess the first one. Ooh. I'm going to start with my theory about the Funtime animatronics and how they could play a role in this movie. Then I'm going to get into the storyline of Circus Baby because Circus Baby kind of has to do with actually no, Circus Baby would be last. Because my second big thing, which I'm talking about a lot, is the storyline of Vanessa and what Vanessa's character is going to be in the next movie. So starting off, I forgot. Oh yeah, Fun Times. So first off, the Funtime animatronics. Now in the movies, the Funtime animatronic, and not the movie, the game, the Funtime animatronics were made out of the remnants and the scraps of the original gang. Why do I mention that? Because at the end of the second movie, all of the original animatronics are together. Perfect opportunity for the Funtime animatronics to be made. And in the game, after the third game, the puppet tried to set free the souls of the original gang, of the original kids who had died. And it looks like that was the case, just for it turned out to not be the case, and for the kids to be possessing the Funtime animatronics. And because those all the scraps put together, it was just, those animatronics just became a ball of chaos of like 5 different souls, not knowing what was going on. They became chaotic that way. You feel me? And so here we are in the game, in the movie universe. It looks like the souls of the original kids have been set free, and all of the original animatronics are together in one place. And now that we know, the puppet used the toy animatronics as a way to get what it wanted. Well, the toy animatronics are gone now. Now that the puppet has a human, an adult human, to possess. And Vanessa knows where, growing up with William Afton, we saw the room where William made all the animatronics in the first movie. Maybe we see the puppet take Vanessa to that same room to make the Funtime animatronics, knowing the remains of all the toy animatronics and the original animatronics are all in one place. Perfect opportunity for the puppet to get what it wants and to have more vessels, more animatronics to control, so the puppet can get what the puppet wants, what Charlotte wants, and that's to get revenge on the adults. Kind of a shorter theory, but it's a theory nonetheless. Moving on to Vanessa. This is already a 20-minute video, and it's only going to be longer because Vanessa. Maybe not too much longer. Vanessa really, based on what I've seen online, there's tons of different theories about what the character of Vanessa could be like, including a theory where someone thinks that the puppet's just gonna, the puppet or Charlotte is gonna see the pain that Vanessa's been through as a result of William, the person who killed Charlotte, and therefore Charlotte isn't gonna try to use Vanessa to harm, but rather use Vanessa to try to protect Vanessa, because Charlotte was close to Vanessa. This is a random theory. I don't see that one happening though, but this is a thought. In my opinion, for Vanessa, again, there's exactly, from what I've seen online, two ways her character can go. Here's the first, and the second one will tie into Circus Baby, and that'll lead into Circus Baby. First theory is that Vanessa's a robot. How does this go? Because people quickly noticed that Vanessa's character acted like a robot a lot in these movies. More robotic reactions, times where she didn't really seem human. And at the end of the movie, you can kind of hear like robotic clicking. Now, I feel like that was more just like the puppet sounds, because I feel like the puppet made those sounds. And that could just be the case because the puppet is now possessing Vanessa. That's the reason we could have seen that, but that's another way. And going back to more lore of the books and how Henry had made a human robot after Charlotte was murdered. I think that's how it goes. But I know in the books, The Twisted Ones and The Third Closet, Henry makes a human robot. Because in the games, Henry was more of the genius who made these animatronics, and William was more the business side. And in this one, the roles are reversed based on what Henry said in the post-credit scene, where he said, "My technology is not as advanced," which makes it seem more like Henry was on the business side and William was the super genius who made all of these machines. We kind of got that too in Vanessa's dream when we saw the room with all the blueprints and all the designs for the original animatronics. Maybe the reason we have Vanessa, and this ties into the theory, we have Vanessa because Elizabeth was scooped at a very young age. And because William's daughter is gone and dead, she isn't possessing. She could be possessing Circus Baby, may not. I'll talk about it in the Circus Baby theory later. But he saw Elizabeth get scooped in the Circus Baby, so then he made Vanessa. And again, in the games, Elizabeth was William's favorite. In the movie, we hear him give Vanessa the lines, "You were always my favorite. You will always be mine." He wanted to keep Vanessa forever. Maybe that's because Elizabeth's gone, so he made Vanessa to replace her, and he doesn't want to lose Vanessa the way he lost his daughter. But here is the contradictory thing to that. Now, here's the theory that I think is true. What's contradictory to that? If William didn't want to lose Vanessa so bad, how come in the first movie he was so perfectly fine with stabbing her? We saw it in the end of the first movie. Vanessa gets stabbed by William. She's in the hospital bed. She's basically in the dying state. She lives, obviously, but... And not to mention, she looks like a human. There's no way she could have been in that hospital. Now, I understand in the novels these robot humans bled. But how come in the movie Vanessa was in the hospital? Just fighting for her life. There's no way those nurses or doctors could not have noticed that Vanessa was a robot. If she really is. However, that goes into my next theory about Vanessa. And again, you have to remember all the trauma she's been through. Maybe that kind of robotic acting, if you can someone call it that. Personally, I don't see it. But for the sake of this theory, maybe all that robotic acting is because she's gone through all that trauma. What leads to my theory that makes the most sense is that Vanessa was either adopted or taken by William because Elizabeth had been scooped by Circus Baby. And Elizabeth is possessing the Circus Baby suit. William needed another daughter. And because he saw so much similarities between Elizabeth and Vanessa, he called Vanessa his own, took her in. Whether or not he adopted her or stole her, I don't know. But he has Vanessa to replace Elizabeth, who was possessing Circus Baby. And I'll talk about the Circus Baby one in a minute. Also, when you look in that scene, Vanessa looks terrified of Circus Baby. She looks absolutely horrified when she saw Circus Baby in the dream sequence. Maybe that's because Vanessa may have seen Circus Baby scoop Elizabeth. That's more of an out there prediction, though. I don't think that's the case. Or at least maybe Vanessa knows the story of Elizabeth and why William took her. Because Vanessa reminded William of Elizabeth, his now dead daughter, possessing Circus Baby, or killed by Circus Baby. Again, that's kind of my Vanessa predictions. Again, that was super unorganized. I was kind of yapping there. I kind of lost my thought, to be honest. But yeah, I feel like the story of Vanessa will go within one of those two storylines. Again, it could go out, but based on what I know in the novels, what I know in the games, what I've seen the theory as online, and what I'm seeing from other people, there's like two main predictions for Vanessa. She's a robot, or she's a robot made by William to replace Elizabeth, or she was stolen by William after she's a real human, stolen by William or adopted by William because she reminded him a lot of Elizabeth, who was possessing Circus Baby. But there is one thing these two theories have in common, and that is Circus Baby. Elizabeth is real. She's in the movie universe. She just hasn't been introduced yet. She is Circus Baby, no matter what. She has been killed by Circus Baby. Whether or not she's possessing the Circus Baby doll, or whether or not her soul's gone, we don't know. But one common thing, these two theories of Vanessa have one thing in common. Circus Baby is in the movie universe. Elizabeth is real. Elizabeth has been killed by Circus Baby, which is why in the dream sequence you see Circus Baby's eyes green. Something in the game doesn't happen until after the green-eyed daughter of William Afton Elizabeth was killed by Circus Baby. So, Circus Baby, in my opinion, will be in the third movie. Because Elizabeth is already possessing Circus Baby, in my opinion. So, my predictions for the third movie: we get Fazbear Fright. Vanessa will be Vanny. I want to make that clear. I don't want to talk about it much because there's not a whole lot to talk about that theory, but long story short, Vanessa in that game was Vanny after she got possessed by William Afton. Now she's possessed by Charlotte. We'll see Vanessa as Vanny, in my opinion. Circus Baby is possessed by Elizabeth. Circus Baby is possessed by Elizabeth. So we'll see Circus Baby. And if Mike and Abby want to free Vanessa, they gotta go through a whole lot of work to do that. But yeah, those are my early predictions for the third movie. I've had more time to put together the thoughts about them. They're still really similar to what I said in my previous video about Five Nights at Freddy's. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. But I'll link that in the description, as well as my Twitch channel. I'm streaming FNAF 4 tomorrow. Trying to be aggressive mode on PlayStation, which I feel like I may not be able to do, but we will see. But those are my main theories about the movie. Here's how I want the movie to go, based on my predictions. I really don't have a way I want it to go. Other than one thing, I want Vanessa to be freed. I feel like at some point in the movie, Mike and Abby have to free Vanessa. Vanessa will apologize for keeping so many things hidden from them. Mike will apologize for abandoning her, and they'll all be one happy family at the end of the movie. That's how I think it's gotta end. Because I know people like Elizabeth Lale and her character way too much for her character to get a bad ending. One where she ends up burning in Fazbear Fright. Because that's how Fazbear Fright ends in the game. It burns down. And it'll make sense too. If this is the last movie, kind of like how it was in the last game of the main story arc, it all burns down. And everything's gone at the end. I feel like that's how it's gotta go, right? End of the movie, the fun times, William, Charlotte, everything gets burned, their souls are free, the kids go to heaven, William will be tormented forever in hell by the creations he made. Like how it was in the game. And at the end, Mike and Vanessa, because they clearly went on a date in the second movie, finally get together and get to be together forever. Abby lives on that happy life. Tears shed, blah blah blah. Dan. Sounds cheesy, I know. But I know that's the ending a lot of people want. It's the ending I want. I want Vanessa to have a good ending. I want Mike and Abby to have a good ending. I really have no idea what they're going to do with Michael Afton's character. That's the one thing I'll say. How they use Michael Afton's character is a big thing too. Whether or not they continue to use him as more of like a circus baby role, or like one of his William Afton's kids role and kind of make him let's feed off what his father wants. Whether or not he has like a hero moment, realizes that he's fighting for the wrong cause, and then moves on to fight alongside of Mike and Abby, and maybe Vanessa if she gets free. There's so much they can do with this movie, and again, it's in my opinion the advantage that at the end of the second movie, it leaves so many questions unanswered. And is that them having that many questions unanswered means they have a whole lot more lore they can play with and a whole lot more possibilities for what could happen in this third movie. Now, I don't know when they start production for the third movie. I really don't. There's rumors that it may already be happening. Rumors will be next year. Rumors that the movie comes out next year. Rumors that the movie could come out as late as 2028. If the movie came out in 2028, I'd be so sad. I feel like it's got to be early 2020, early or mid 2027, late next year at the earliest. I just feel like after knowing how much of a cliffhanger that movie ends on, I just don't see how they could wait until 2028 to release the next movie. Knowing how much of a cliffhanger it ends on. Because people are talking about the cliffhanger now. Like, people can't stop talking about this in the Five Nights at Freddy's community. They cannot stop talking about this at all. And it would be a super misjustice if they waited years to release a movie that comes after a major cliffhanger with Fazbear Fright being introduced, Henry's message to Michael, and Vanessa being possessed by the marionette. After all those three big things happen as a cliffhanger, to wait that long for a movie to come out, I feel like it would be a bit of a misjustice. They have to release it sooner rather than later. But then again, I'm not Universal, I'm not Blumhouse. I'm not the producers or the developers of the movie. I'm not Scott Cawthon. I don't know what's best for this. I'm just a fan who wants the movie to come out soon because I hate cliffhangers. But yeah, this is a 30-minute long video. This is going to be a pain in the ass to upload to YouTube. But yeah, that's all I got. And again, I know my videos don't get many views, but if you're watching this video, I'll probably post it on Twitter. If you're watching this video, and if you have any kind of comments or thoughts on it, let me know in the comments. Use the comments as a dialogue as to what you could see happening in the third movie, because there's a lot that could happen. There's a lot that could happen. There's a lot of storyline to have to play with. I just talked about a few things that could happen. They may not happen at all. There could be 3 movies. There could be 20. We don't know. But we will see in the upcoming months. After all, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is only 3 weeks old. Hasn't even been out for a month yet. It's a long time for it to be out for before we can really, truly deep dive into what we could see happen for this next movie. And what potential movies afterwards could look like as well. So again, these are just my thoughts. I can't help but imagine that maybe as I continue to see more and more fan comments, fan theories, whatever, that I'll probably make more videos talking about Five Nights at Freddy's on my sports channel. But Hey, listen, I'm a nerdy sports fan. I like nerdy things. I like playing video games. My PlayStation's on right now. I'm gonna play games after this while I'm editing this and up. Not editing it. I just take the copy and upload to YouTube. While I'm uploading this to YouTube. Again, I'm streaming Five Nights at Freddy's 4 on Twitch tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. And what else am I gonna link? Oh yeah, I'll link my first video on Five Nights at Freddy's as well. But yeah, if you're watching this, thank you for tuning in. I would love to keep making videos like this, but I cannot do it without your support. I know it sounds cheesy, but it really can. I have dreams of being huge. The only way I can get there is being popular. And the only way I can be popular is through my audience. So if you like this video, leave a like, leave comments on what you think could happen with Five Nights at Freddy's. There's a lot of theories out there that we don't know. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Peace out, y'all. Thank you.